Now that the harvest is steadily rolling in from my garden, I thought I might start sharing some of the ways in which I preserve the veggies we're unable to eat fresh, starting with my preferred method of making refrigerator dill pickles. I personally prefer fridge pickles as I find they're less prone to becoming mushy than hot water bath can pickles. So here's how I go about it. My first step is to get a pot of water boiling to sterilize my jars. Even though these pickles won't be canned in the technical sense, I still consider it best practice to sterilize my jars and lids. While the jars are boiling, I prepare my brine. The ratio of ingredients is 1 cup of 5% vinegar, 1 cup of water, and 1.5 tablespoons of salt. See the description for metric conversions. Apple cider or white vinegar can be used, but I find cider vinegar adds a hint of sweetness that I'm just not a fan of. I recommend using pickling salt as it lacks iodide and anti-caking agents, which can be a source of off flavors. Bring the brine to a boil until the salt dissolves, and then reduce the heat to a simmer. The brine ratio can be scaled up for larger batches, and it's always better to have too much than not enough. Excess brine can be stored for later use. Up next, it's time to prepare the cucumbers. For this batch, I have a mix of Boston pickling cukes and Armenian cukes, both of which make great pickles. It doesn't matter how you choose to slice your cukes, but the stem and blossom ends should be discarded as these are said to contain enzymes that can cause sogginess. This might be an old canning myth, but why risk it? And here's everything that's going to go into this batch of pickles. Of course, I have the cucumbers. The Armenian cukes I cut into chips, and the Boston picklers I cut into long slices. In one of the jars, I'm going to throw a handful of cayenne peppers for a little extra spice. I have some fresh dill fronds from the garden, some onion and garlic cloves, and my dry ingredients mix of dry dill seed, whole peppercorns, mustard seed, and bay leaves. Next, it's time to pack the jars. I prefer to start with the dry ingredients first, follow it up with the dill, and then everything else. Because these aren't going to be properly canned, headspace isn't much of an issue, so feel free to pack your jars right up to the rim. With all the ingredients packed in, it's time to pour the hot brine into the jars. Tap out as many air bubbles as you can with a spatula or spoon, and then cap off with some kind of a lid. I'm using plastic reusable jar lids. These are real handy to have around a kitchen. And that's about all there is to it. Once the jars have cooled to room temperature, pop them in the fridge where they should stay until consumed. You'll know the pickles are ready to eat when they no longer float on top of the jar. For thin sliced pickles like these, it will be 1 to 2 weeks. For whole pickles, count on a month or two. Thanks again for tuning in. Until next time, let's hope it all doesn't die.